Thank you so much, Linda. Always, I'm thinking of the person that you're introducing, and I go, wow, I want to know this person. You just make me sound so wonderful. So thank you.
Ah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I'm listening to this introduction, not just of me, but what we're going to be doing today. And I'm like, that's a tall order. And apparently I do that a lot. So let's dig in. Have you ever, you're a high achieving woman. Well, how many of you would consider yourself high achieving? High achieving woman. Yes. Something that you just feel driven, right? Feel driven to do things. Yeah, kind of. Okay. Have you ever wondered what drives you? Have you ever had that little thought? No. You just take it, you have. Okay. So there's this little undercurrent that says, I guess this is good for me. I'm going to keep it up and allow it to drive me further and achieve and do and be. Well, I had that innocent thought years ago. It's been since COVID. We had time to slow down, to stop a minute and breathe and go, um, what do I need to look at? And for me, it was that. I wanted to find out what was driving me because I've always been this high achieving thing. And I felt like it was pushing me, pushing, pushing, push, push. And I thought, I wonder what that motivation is underneath. I wonder where it's coming from. And at the same time, because I don't know what you think about in your free time, but this is where my head goes, is it was popular or part of top of mind or something in the space of news and on the spiritual plane of what is my mother wound? I wonder what that is. Yeah. How many have you ever asked that question? What is my mother wound? Do I have any wounds from childhood, from before childhood, from who knows where? These are things that I think about because when you're on that spiritual path, you want to make sure that you're showing up in your highest of integrity. And these are the things that would get in your way that would make you think of things that you think of fear or guilt or grief or the obligations and the shoulds. I should do this, I should do that when in actuality, you want sovereignty. And may I just introduce that to you? This sovereignty. You want to be able to have your willpower and your engine of, this is me talking though, this is my opinion. If you like it, take it on board. If you don't, then play with it. Maybe you'll like it. But the idea is you want to have that ability to pull being a driving force for yourself out of your tool bag rather than feeling like it's just part of your general makeup. Because if you don't feel that way, then maybe slowing down is too difficult. Maybe we're having a hard time with feeling okay with rest. Most people won't rest unless they're paying to rest. You're paying for the massage, you're paying for the nail salon, you're paying for your hair to get done, you're paying for sauna time. We were just talking about saunas before we all topped on together. So there are things that we need to give ourselves permission for, and we often will put the wrong thing. Like, I got to pay money to relax. No, you don't. No, you don't. That would be an underlying, I have a driving force behind me that is pushing me and driving me. Does that resonate? Does that feel like it's something that you could agree with or not agree with? Let's open up our mics and participate a little bit right here. I want to see where we are in the room with my little monologue. Laura, any thoughts? I see your wheels turning.
I am
Nothing.
listening. This is not my world that operate in typically. So
Okay.
just
Well,
can
welcome.
that's why I'm listening. I am just
Very
listening.
good.
I don't operate from this world,
Okay.
and maybe that's not a healthy thing. I don't know. So
It
I'm just
no,
listening.
no, I think that's wonderful to be open enough to jump into. I'm not just metaphysical space person. This is true holistic healing. So, um, are you, and this is not a blaming, are you one of those people that don't have an internal dialogue? There's a lot of people out there who
Oh,
don't.
I have lots of internal dialogue. That's why I'm on the track every morning at 4 a.m. because so I can have a good conversation with myself. Because
Yeah.
I'm busy all day long having conversations with other people. When will I have time to talk to myself?
Okay, you're in the right place. Because that's really all this is. It is managing that self-talk. And I'm taking it and showing you where it could live in another part of your beingness that maybe you don't know about and maybe you want to learn about. And so I love that you're here and you're listening. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I am. I want to candidly. I'm hearing
Yeah.
it's Jewish New Year's, so this is today. I'm only
Yes.
going to be able to stay along a little bit of time because I
Yes.
am
Sundown.
expected to produce something for dinner, which needs to occur before sunset. So,
Yes.
um, I haven't started, but it will require some attention.
Good.
Um, and so, this is a good time to be reflective.
Okay.
It's Jewish New Year's. It's 10 days of reflection. So I thought this would be a good way to kick that off.
It is. Yeah, you're in the right place. Yeah, it's all about reflection. It's all about looking at the what within us do can we not measure, because we do a lot of measuring. We measure up to ourselves all the time. It's more like how can we bring ourselves to the next level, whatever that is. And even if it's clearing something. So it was anybody else have an ad to share before I move on to the next part?
I have my hand up.
Yes, you do. Sorry, I did not mean to ignore it. Go ahead, Carrie.
Well, I want to respond to what you said about the mother wounding.
Yeah.
Um, I I think we have a few different ways to approach this. I wrote a book called Life Rewritten, and what I do is I explore all the messages, all the events that happen to us as children, as infants, from the day we're born. I believe that the day we're born we land it's like we are actors in this big giant play and we're landing on a stage in the middle of a story that's been going on for decades, and we don't know who the characters are, we don't know what the theme is. I came from the movie business, so you understand why I think like this, but I don't know what the theme is. I don't know my motivation. When you go to a rehearsal and an actor says, why am I saying these words, what's my motivation? When you walk into that stage, a newborn infant, you just are overloaded with all this information. And you're right, it leads to a wounding, it leads to trauma, it leads to many different things. It also leads to good things. So I think that in my experience and with my clients, like you said, getting to that root, getting to the crux of it is really important, not only for discovering a breakthrough, finding it, but having the breakthrough last, having it not just be a one and done. And I
Yeah.
wonder, do you feel that same way?
Yeah. 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 It's an ongoing conversation, but there's generally just like a car accident, there's an initial impact. That's
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. And so that initial impact has its maturing stages over time, and we can unravel it. I use a lot of metaphors. We can unravel it like an onion, like see the different layers and what's in this layer. And I didn't know that I had this part of me.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's being patient with yourself to allow for, oh, I thought this was the destination. I'm somehow here in this space where I thought I was supposed to be. And you get there and then you realize, oh, there's more, which is always the case. It's always
Well,
the case.
that's part of the excitement.
Yeah.
There's no end game. It's just keeps going. So anyway, I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw that out there.
I love it. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? Kathy or
I just want
Joanne?
to pop in and say my Zoom is doing really weird things. So if I'm freezing and disappearing and coming back, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best to pay attention.
Okay, that's okay. I'm here. All right, very good. All right. I want to share what happened when I put my attention on two seemingly unrelated things. So one step was, I wonder why, that little innocent thought. I got to be careful. Be careful what you think because it starts a chain reaction of possibilities that open up your frame of being, and it allows for the answer to come in. That's just the way spirit works. It's the way our beingness works. And so when you ask the question, I wonder what's causing all of this within me to be such a driving force of wanting to achieve. At the same time, I was focusing on the healing the mother wound. I cannot remember for the life of me what that mother wound is, and I think that's an example of what it's like to finally heal it. It's like once you know what it is, it no longer bothers you, and you can archive it, gone. So for me, that mother wound was healed, and all of the sudden, and I mean instantaneously, I lost all of my drive. kaputs. I went, I don't want to be here. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't feel motivation at all. And I realized I never learned how to self-motivate. Anyone else been there? Self-motivation. We take it for granted if you're a driving force. But if you've never been to that place of needing to motivate yourself, it can be a little bit of a shock. But two, do I need to go to therapy? Like what? There was a bunch of questioning that I had for myself, which again, you're hearing, I do this a lot. I talk to myself a lot. They say it's a sign of intelligence. I'm not so sure. We're just gonna go with it. So when we're talking about, well, welcome in. When we're talking about motivation, how would you describe this? Now, this is that may seem like a simple thing, but when you're describing motivation, do you have an answer for yourself that says, I know what motivation is, or, and I know how to get it and I know how to make it for myself, or do I just feel that driving force within me that just pushes me to achieve? And go ahead and come off of mute and share what your experience is. So it's do I feel like I have that driving force all the time without control over it? Or do I know what motivates me? And so those are the two.
I actually have a story around this that
Okay.
is, I'm almost hesitant to speak to it, but I think it's telling regarding this topic. So when I was younger, uh, my brother and I grew up in a household that was very performance based and that was very conditional and very performance based, right? For me, that led to stereotypical overachievement, um, like on grand scales. And for my brother, it led to dropping out of all competition, like
Wow.
all of it. He, skipping to the end of the story, he ended up moving to Homer, Alaska and becoming a fisherman because, like, literally, he wanted off the grid. He's never owned a bank account, a car, held a credit card, nothing, right? He's my best friend. I love him more than life itself. I would give him my right arm, my left leg, my kidneys, livers, anything, right?
Yeah.
He's my best friend outside my husband, but he is wholly different from me. When I was in college, I took on the mantle of having to be everything to everyone all the time and the best of everything to such an nth degree that I ran track at the university that I was going to, and I was on track scholarship. I ran the university's newspaper. I was the editor for the newspaper for the university. I ran the radio station for the university. I was a resident assistant at the university that I was in the athletic dorms. I was the resident assistant. I also held two jobs to put myself through college beyond my track scholarship.
Yeah.
And I ended up in a hospital because, as a runner, Laura knows this better than anybody, you tend to be generally, most of the time, a bit underweight. So I am 5'9". I was maybe 95 pounds, really, really thin, and just ended up having kind of an exhaustive breakdown and was in the hospital. My brother came to see me and literally said, Dad is never going to tell you he's proud of you. And I said, this is not about that. And he said, this is absolutely about that, Linda. And he's never going to tell you that. And you've got to be okay with that. I said, what are you talking about, Rob? I just needed to be more diligent about my diet and my food. And, I'm going to be fine. And he's like, no, this has everything to do with Dad.
Yep.
And he's never going to tell you you're okay. And you know that if you guys have watched the movie Good Will Hunting,
Mm-hmm.
where the psychiatrist says to the star of the show, something like, I can't remember the actual words, but something like, you're not to blame, you're not to blame, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's not your fault. And he's like, I know it's not my fault, I know it's not my fault. And then ends up sobbing for like
Yeah.
the rest of the scene. Well, that was me for 2 days. So I ended up crying for 2 days. And then after that, I like woke up. I was in the hospital the whole time. I was in the hospital for almost 10 days. And when I got through that, I was like, oh my gosh, what a relief and what a release. And now what do I want and what matters
Right.
to me? And so the rest, I won't say that I'm totally free of everything from my childhood, in terms of performance culture. I'm still very much a people pleaser, blah, blah, blah. I know. But I would say that I am now doing things that matter to me and that I think fulfill my purpose on earth. And it's to my standard of excellence, right? And so that's wholly different. And I will also say, both of my parents have passed. I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but for me, it was a little bit of a relief also that I didn't have to live to that standard any longer.
Yeah.
Like when I got my PhD, my dad was like, well, finally, and when, anyway, on and on. So I won't go through all this, but it's like, I was a CEO, I have a PhD, I ran triathlons, like all the checklists, right? And then I feel like when that series of expectations were lifted, I also got to have sort of a second rebirth in really determining, okay, so what is the standard of excellence that's important for me?
Yeah.
And so it was really different. I hope that wasn't too much. I mean, ugh.
Not for me. We're good. Not for me. And I have a similar share. It was, let's see, Easter dinner, um, after my mom had passed, that I said out loud to everybody else in attendance, wow, this has been such an enjoyable family dinner without mom. And it's interesting, like there was so much she brought to the table, and at the same time, there was so much that was drawn out because she was doing this for everybody out of obligation. It wasn't out of what made her happy. And we could feel that, whether somebody says that or not, with it's your genuine base of motivation. Yeah. Then everyone else can feel it even if they can't put words to it. And so
I can relate to Linda's story because I'm not that different from Linda in terms of experiences, although I'm very different from Linda in so many other ways. I hope to be Linda someday, or have some aspects of Linda, maybe not an exact carbon copy, but some aspects of Linda. And by the way, I do like your new haircut. Um, anyway, I think that to what Linda is saying is when you do come to understand that what is important to you is not necessarily going to be the same thing that's important to others, and you come to say that's okay, it can be quite freeing, right? It can
a
be
revelation. Yeah.
quite freeing. And to Carrie's point, we all are dropped in. Carrie, I have to tell you someday a story. I'll tell you all real quickly, very, very quickly, because of what Carrie said. So uh, I'm the oldest in my family, and I have a much younger sister. And when my mother was pregnant, someone said to me, "Oh, how do you feel about?" I was not old enough to really understand babies, but or that my mother was pregnant, but I am considerably older, 8 years older. And one person said to me, "How do you feel about, having a sibling?" And I said, "What sibling?" And the girl said, "Well, your mom's going to have a baby." And of course,
Yeah.
I went home and had this conversation with my father and said, "What baby?" And eventually they admitted they were going to have a baby, which I was beginning to think, oh, holy moly, but that's a different kind of conversation. And my father then said to me, this will be funny for Carrie, "Well, do you know where babies come from?" And I said, "Absolutely, I know where babies come from." And he said, "Well, where do they come from?" I said, "All the babies are up in heaven in a line. And when someone wants one, God sends it down."
Yeah.
And my father said, "That's exactly where babies come from." So
That's
Carrie,
cool.
That's exactly how we end up on the stage because
Mhm.
we're all in a line. And when someone wants us, down we come. And
Yep.
we come from the line. So we don't know where we've been, but we've been in the line. Who knows for how long?
Yeah.
Anyway, right?
No, I love that.
Anyway, so my sister came down from heaven and she certainly is a blessing and many other things on top of that. But she plopped into a world, right? And she's very different because she plopped into the stage in a very different place. Think about that. So she had completely different scenarios than I did because I plopped into the scene in a very different place. So think about that as how it affects your whole family dynamics. So
Yeah.
that's something to think through.
I love that, the plopping in and we're all waiting in line and I have a different way of saying it, but it really is for me, it's like that. We are all this eternal being waiting to come in and we have all this knowledge about who we are and what we're meant to do in life and how we're going to achieve that. And we've got our agreements and we picked out our parents, we've picked out our siblings, and then we're born and we forget it all. We forget it all. And I think that's part of the original wound. I really do. And so we have amnesia towards all of our purpose and all of what we're meant to do, but we get the chills and we get the, oh, that resonates with me, and we get the goosebumps whenever we're in close alignment with it. And that's a whole nother conversation, but I love that. And I think even still for part of this conversation in that when we get the chills and we get the excitement, that those are motivators, aren't they? Are they other, what are other motivators can we find in life that are just little signs to us that we maybe dismiss too easily? Thoughts on that? Oh, I think Linda froze. Did we lose Linda? No.
Yep,
Okay.
I'm still here. Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah. Did you have something to add to the no? Oh, okay. Just noticing. All right. Yeah, Kathy.
I want to kind of add to that conversation at the beginning when we were talking more about our drivers and what and my story is kind of the flip side of what the others were talking about, and that my family wasn't really driven or dominating and you have to do this. They were almost neutral. I mean, there was an expectation that we would go on to university and you behave yourself and all those kind of things, but there wasn't you have to do this and do the best and all that kind of thing. But I did it to myself. Like I had my own, and so I really stuck out where the others were kind of medium, like in the middle, and I was always kind of doing more and just more. And I'd be up at 5 in the morning going for a run, then I'd walk to school, and then I'd, getting scholarships, and I was doing all these things, and the people around me weren't. And I think it's made to a point that now I squash my excelling because I feel like I'm that outshining or I'm almost misbehaving by overachieving.
Yeah.
So
Do
it's
you
kind of the
still
flip side.
do you still have that, or have you found a way through that to motivate anyway?
I'm definitely always battling it. And like right now, my sister's been unemployed for over a year. I don't understand that. How can you like not do anything for a year? Like I just don't get it. And
Yeah.
just things like that. So I think I'm always feeling like I can't outshine and I don't want to, be too much, even though there's that thing inside me that's like, no, you need to do all of these things and go to these places and talk to these people. And but there's the circle kind of bringing it back down.
Is that the crabs or is it the frogs that pulls the one who's wanting to escape out of the bucket? Like the one who's wanting to escape out of the bucket, the others are pulling on their legs and saying, "Come back in." There's that story. I forget the story,
Right,
but
right, yeah, yeah.
It's the
Yeah,
crabs.
be one of us, be one of us.
yes, exactly. So, yeah, there's all kinds of things that motivate us. I think it's okay to let things motivate us, as long as we know its source. Is this meant for our good, or is this meant for somebody else's good at our expense? And oftentimes it ends up being that. But there's social agreements that we make, and we don't want to fall down on those social agreements, meaning like um I don't have a big family at home anymore. I'm when I'm cooking dinner, I cook for one. So if it's mealtime, I just cook for me. I don't have anybody waiting on me at the end of this session to go and cook for, but that was a day in my time when it was. I had those agreements present. So we get to change up what our agreements are with ourselves and what motivates us over time too. So have we audited that lately? Have you taken a look at that and gone, all right, at one point, my girls were old enough. Their father passed away. I divorced him first. He passed away. Just getting that timeline clear. And then they were old enough that they could start learning to cook. So the agreement was I was going to work and had a full-time job and had my other business, the Elevate Institute, was a side hustle, raising two girls in high school. They were only a year apart. And I thought, they don't have the kind of homework load that I had. I'm going to put them to work now. They're going to cook dinner and they'll take turns cooking dinner. And that freed me up to listen to them fight about cooking dinner instead of actually cooking dinner, which is a whole nother story. But there are, yeah, the crabs in a bucket story ended with, it's not how crabs are in the wild. They aren't meant to all be in a bucket. Our fellow crab living in our purpose won't try to pull you down. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's it. And that's to the point earlier is like for your good and what it is that you're wanting to achieve and what you agreed to without guilt or obligation or judgment, then becomes something that we can all love each other for instead. And I think that's a better motivation anyways. But we're here to challenge our motivations. So the motivation is a myth in my mind because it can be applied two different ways. And really, words are just symbols that lets us communicate. But this motivation word, it has so many other meanings tied to it. And I want to unvelcro them and take away all the other meanings and just go to what motivates me, what makes me happy. And it's not just what makes me happy. I want to challenge you again. My Enneagram number is an 8, which means I challenge. I'm the challenger. So I get to challenge people. And it's not meant to be argumentative. It just tends to be. So the challenge then becomes think of a situation that you're thinking, oh, I shouldn't do that because it's an obligation that I didn't agree to. Well, what if there's just another way to reframe it? What if there is something that's a piece of information that's missing what you think you know? And I'm being very vague because I'm gonna put together like a personal story with it. But what if there's meaning that could become a loving motivation that would appear all on its own and may make you lose the feeling of this as an obligation. And it shifts into this is a loving situation that I can be in. So oftentimes I've heard this before from people. Oh, I decided not to go to that event because I knew that this person that I'm deciding not to talk to is going to be there. Or it would create a lot of conflict if I was there. Well, what if that person is depending on you to show up so that they could have a conversation to clear the air? What if you came to a place of having terms of your own and says, if I feel too uncomfortable, I get to leave? I'm trying to bring this all the way down to how we live from day to day and having conversations within our mindset. And we go, oh, I'm not going to do that because what are the stories that we're sticking to that are holding us back from expanding into that place of love and generosity? Because we're not all crabs. Our fellow crabs. They're not supposed to be pulling at us. So just taking that metaphor further. Um, yeah, there have been lots of situations where family, in particular, they tend to be the thing that poke at us. But also you could have a client, somebody that you're working with, or even a co-worker if you're in corporate, where you feel like I don't want to go to work today because I'm going to have to find a new job because this person is creating such havoc for me. What's the motivation? Fear that it's never going to get better? Embarrassment? I mean, there's a probably list of things. Shame that this person is doing this and making you feel like you have to go find some other job. But what if and just in asking that question, this is a dangerous, what if there's a solution? And that can change your motivation from I'm doing this out of fear or embarrassment to I know that there's a solution for every problem. And having faith in that, that becomes motivation. I know that there is a solution to every single problem, no matter how squirrely it gets, how the details change, everything's always working out in my behalf. What if we had that to hang on to, as opposed to a false motivation of willpower, or I'm just going to muscle through this, but have a belief in ourselves, in the other people in our lives to be crabs that don't pull us into the bucket, but allow us to walk our sideways walk. So I'm getting a little existential. I know, right? So I want to hear some feedback. I know I go down rabbit holes. I know that. But this feels like such a rich conversation to have, and it can really go anywhere. But do you feel, I go back to that original question, do you feel like you're driven or do you feel like you can learn to drive yourself? Like where are you on this plane and what have you felt has helped you get there to where you are? And I'm asking a lot of questions. Who wants to participate?
The one thing that I think I don't think struggle's the right word, I still think about is oftentimes, especially in LeadHERship Global, when we have, incredible global experts giving their insight and wisdom and experience and expertise generously to other members in sessions like this, I have heard many, many times, um, you need to create boundaries in work and you shouldn't work 24/7 and you need to have time to relax and you need to have time to spend with the things you love and blah, blah, blah. And then I've heard other folks say, especially in the 10x kind of culture, when you're first growing and scaling a business, it is going to require diligence and determination and dedication. And, you need to be ready to make sacrifices and that type of thing. And I know for me, I tend to work a lot of hours. And I've had people say, oh, you need to hire this person and that person and this staff and that staff and these kind of support people and whatever. And it's my choice, though. It's
Yeah.
my choice to work in the way I do, with the hours I do, in the format I do. You know what I mean? It's like my choice to do this. And so occasionally I struggle a little bit about all the advice and guidance, very well intended and very, very wise about how to work. And then I reflect on how I do work. And then I often feel like shame or guilt or something like, oh, I'm working too much or I'm working on maybe the wrong things or maybe I need to outsource this or whatever. But ultimately, I kind of feel like my work is different in that for me, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like a mission. It feels like a purpose. It feels like what I'm born to do. And yeah, it requires a lot of time. But I also believe that this is my vocation as well as my avocation. Do you know?
Mhm.
So I just, I guess I wonder sometimes, given my husband is fine with the way that we've architected and designed our life, and we are really good in the way that we organize our work life, our personal life. We feel balanced about it. If I could, I don't know, sort of say, listen, if I want to work 40 hours or 60 hours or 20 hours, it's it's okay. There's not a right or wrong. Do you know? And I
Yep.
often feel like, oh, I must be doing something wrong because I'm putting in so many hours. Oh, I must be doing something inappropriate because, X, Y, and Z.
You said a mouthful.
Sorry.
So, no, I think it's great because it tells you how complex this is, really. This whole conversation around motivation is so complicated. And the trying to oversimplify it or saying you don't fit into you can't be pigeonholed into a standard way of working. I agree with the idea that if you're living a mission-driven life, that you have something that you're trying to achieve, it doesn't always feel like work. I mean, constantly, I don't know about you. I'm constantly coming up with new ideas and ways to share, and things that come in. I receive the information, the spirit will wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Eva, wake up. We got stuff to say to you. Write it down. We have a whole new program for you, or we have a whole new way of thinking about things. And you ask this question, we're going to give you an answer. It could be a brand new book, it could be anything. And so it's like, well, where do you clock that in? This is part of who you are. It's part of your eternal essence that you're remembering. And how is that a negative thing? How is that a bad thing? Um, yeah, I still think the boundaries are important in the places that are, again, you define those boundaries. You're the one that gets to choose. And I think that's been the number one revelation I've had in recent years was, you mean I get to have terms? I get to have terms around this. And if that term says I can work, 15 days in a row and not take a rest day, then that's fine as long as I make up for it because I know what I need. And that's what I mean. It's like what's motivating us? What is allowing us to run days in a row? Laura, you've got your hand up. Do share. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to react to something that Linda said, and I think many of us, I'm going to say, fall into this trap. And I'm going to call it a trap for lack of a better word right now. Excuse my word choice. But we are surrounded by frameworks and paradigms that are not ours.
Right.
And we then try to look at ours in comparison to those frameworks and those paradigms. And then we judge ourselves against those frameworks and paradigms, thinking that somehow or another they are better than our frameworks and
That's
our paradigms.
totally it, Laura.
Okay,
Exactly
I'm
where
just
I'm at.
saying, I fall into this trap too. And maybe and if there's anyone on this call that doesn't fall into that trap ever, I would like to have a conversation with you,
Yeah.
right? Because I think all of us can fall into that situation. And what I then try to do when I'm on that track at 4 o'clock in the morning and having that conversation with myself, I'm asking myself, what is my framework, my paradigm that works for me and my family and the people I love and care about, and the customers I serve and care about, and then the communities I participate in and care about, and the rest I try to say that's not for me. So, for those of you who don't know this, I grew up in a very Orthodox Jewish family. So if you want to know about frameworks and paradigms, I would be happy to tell you. There's 613 commandments, and you're expected to kind of follow them all. So I can tell you all about frameworks and paradigms. At some point in your life along the way, you have to decide, am I going to live that life, or am I going to have my own paradigms and frameworks? Well, I'm not married to a Jewish person, so clearly I made some choices along the way. My point I'm trying to make is we all grow up with frameworks and paradigms, and we all live among frameworks and paradigms, and we have to choose what works for us and not get too much in the trap of trying to fit into other people's paradigms and frameworks when they may not be the right thing for us. So, for example, I'll share something quite personal. I was married once before, very, very briefly. It was a matched marriage because that's what you do when you are in an Orthodox Jewish community. And on paper, it looked perfect because on paper, it was perfect, but it was not perfect, clearly. And it did not last very long because it was a paradigm and a framework that just was not going to work. All right. So, just that was for me a really important moment for me personally to realize that I probably would have stayed in that marriage, and who knows what would have happened. I wouldn't have divorced him, Eva. He chose divorce. So that in Judaism, women can't get a divorce, by the way. So another conversation. So he chose divorce. And that allowed me to begin to ask myself what kind of life I wanted to live,
There you
right?
go.
So it
Yeah.
was a gift,
Yeah.
actually. And I ended up looking at it that way, that it is as a gift. So I'm just saying, Linda, all of us have frameworks and paradigms, and we just have to figure out our own way. And nobody else's is the way for us.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yes.
Laura.
Yes. Yes. The myth of motivation. There it is. Yeah. Yeah, I think there is a purpose to having the beginnings set for us for some kind of not just social agreements, but kind of like how school is set up. We have a preschool and a kindergarten, and from kindergarten we go into first grade, and then we graduate through the grades. And I think that somehow the equivalent space of our paradigms and our rules for life, if you want to call them that, the dogma that is passed to us generationally somehow gets stuck in kindergarten. And unless we are forced to face some sort of impact moment that creates space for us to question it, then we tend not to. I've noticed that. How many people have not moved away from the home that they were, the hometown they were born in? If we look at the stats on that, it's alarming to me because I love to travel and I love to meet people. So yeah, this is anyway, it's a great conversation, but thank you everybody for sharing. Um, I see a lot of chatter going on over here in the chat box. So I love what's being shared. Um, are you able to open your mic and share, Erica? Are you in a space to do that?
Sure. I apologize for arriving late. Thanks for having me. Um, there's so much going on in this conversation. I've had a lot of thoughts. My mom was the one who expected things of me. Like I was just expected to have good grades. If I got an E minus, it was like, oh, what happened here? You know, I was expected to go to college and get into a good college and do all the things. And never had a great relationship with her, surprisingly or not surprisingly. Um, but I never figured out what she wanted from me, you know? Um, and unfortunately, that door is kind of closed now because she has a traumatic brain injury and she can't really communicate and we can't have that conversation. Um, which I think I might be ready to at this point, but it is what it is. Um, yeah, I always wanted my parents' approval. I think with my dad, it was pretty easy that he was a single father. I was raised by my father. My mom had visitation, which was unusual at the time. That didn't really happen, but this is how it was for me. Only child. Um, yeah. What else? Just about how to manage one's time. I feel like, yeah, everybody's got like, you should do this, you should do that. And then it gets very confusing and you can almost get that like brain explosion emoji. Where you're
Yeah.
like, I don't even know what to do.
Yes.
Like I throw up my hands and I leave this to you, the universe.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I was just reading or watching a video the other day. This person said, if if you make more than $15 an hour, you should outsource everything in your life that you can cost you $15 or less, and so that you can do more of your higher earning stuff, which makes sense on paper, but I honestly don't mind washing the dishes. And
We
let
need,
like,
yeah.
and it's 6:30 at night, I'm out of energy and I can't make, however much money doing my high value work at 6:30 at night because I'm spent, but I can wash the dishes.
Yeah.
So does it really make sense to outsource that? You decide.
Yeah.
So,
Especially if it gives you something mindless to do, right?
Right. It lets you rest. It lets the brain rest.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, whew, there's
So
a lot going
Erica,
on here. Thank
Er-
you.
Erica,
Go ahead.
I put in the chat that it isn't time, it is energy that we have to manage. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this sounds really weird, but you know how on your phone there's a battery on your phone, and as you use it through the day, it goes down. It's
Hmm.
that way for us too. So when we wake up in the morning, our battery is full, and as we go through the day, it will decline the amount of energy, and we will have to recharge that energy. Some people can recharge their energy during the day. Those people who are those E's, like my husband, they recharge all day long because they get their energy by talking to other people. The people
Hmm.
like me who are an I, we are, yeah, yeah, I know, Linda. I know. When
You're
we
an
want to
I,
spend our
Linda?
day, yes, me
Really?
too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Huge.
Yeah, you gotta know where the energy is. That's where what's important. So for those of us who are eyes and who spend their day engaging with others, our energy is decreasing throughout
Hmm.
the day. So we
Yeah.
have to find ways to recharge. And so for some of us, maybe Erica, it's recharging by doing the dishes at 6:30. And for others, it might be doing yoga at lunch or whatever it might be. My point being, if we think in terms of energy, it can help us decide where we put our time, because the things that require a lot of energy, you want to put when you have more of it. And the things that require less energy, you want to put when you have less of it, if that makes any sense at all.
Perfect.
Absolutely. It does.
And with that, I'm going to go to the kitchen, which probably is low energy requirement, but I will be entertaining people tonight, high energy requirement. So
Yes.
bless all of you, and I will do my best.
Happy Rosh Hashanah. I
Shauna.
always say that wrong.
I am going to try to make tomorrow's board presentation. It will all depend on how services go because I can't control that. So,
Got you.
all right, bye, y'all.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, she took the words out of my mouth. It is all about energy. It's about what it is that you need. And that's the whole point of motivation, isn't it? It's making sure that the motivation comes from within you, not is been supplanted into you for you to just deal with. And that's really the main question that I wanted for everybody to ponder today. So this has been an amazing conversation. We have just a little bit of time left. Um, Joanna, you've been with us. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just enjoying the conversation and dive into. I love also sharing. And when you're mentioning about motivation, I started to try to remember what really put me on a motor like nothing can stop me. And I remember when I was young, I like to change the setting in the rooms from time to time.
Yeah.
And at the time, we just live in one little room with my parents, like back in China. And my parents don't agree with me and said, "Hey, don't change it, don't, mess around." And then when they left, I just managed to move everything by myself. And after they come back, they were surprised, but happily as well, because the setting has changed and they were very happy. And then I just realized, I think that deep inside of me, probably everyone can think about something when we were young. There's something unstoppable within us. For me, create, I think, is always the motivation for me. If I don't create, I lose the spark. I was a financial planner for over 10 years, right? And at the end of the career, a psychic called me the other day, like I have a conversation, and she said, "Your life is full of gray color." So what happened? Like I totally lost my color because I was so bubbly and creative, but because of certain work, I type into the external voice, right? Or maybe framework, whatever we talk about. I started to go into the bucket, whatever we call it. And then
Yeah.
I do the things I feel like it right, but I totally lose myself. And that's how I actually step out of that world and re-invented, re-evaluated my Actually, I did exercise when everyone says about delegation outsourcing. I did exercise on incompetence, competence, excellence, genius
Yeah.
zone. And I found out the financial planning is only my competence, which means I can do it well, but I don't love it dearly. Then I decided I have to make a decision. This is not the thing I want to do for the rest of
Wow.
my life, for
Yeah.
sure. So, yeah, I think in our life, we have those moments we'll lose ourselves, but I think that's a sign as well for us to reinvent or direct to the track to really bring our motivation back. Yeah, so maybe everyone can find a little spark within us. There's something unstoppable. Yeah, and also actually, I had a soul awakening event about 3 years ago. Since then, I found my soul mission, soul power, and soul purpose. And since then, every single moment I live on my mission and passion. So I just totally enjoy that. And that keeps me in higher energy vibration. I allow myself to rest during the day. Whenever I feel like I go with my heart flow. And I found when I'm in that state, I can be super efficient. For something, maybe 3 hours, maybe for half an hour, I could get it done. I used to. I mean, that's the difference. That's the difference. I think when we go with our heart flow, go with our really true deep motivation, we can get up every day with a fully charged emotion. Yeah, and I used to go with, I used to be on the people pleasing and prove myself, but those are not the motivation at all. It was like a forcing myself to prove something, but now I truly see my value. I appreciate it. I know I'm a unique self, different as every single soul. We are all uniquely different.
Mhm.
So when I cherish that, accept it every single morning, I work on my mission and passion. I just, the motivation is always there. It's life. It's what we're here for.
It's working for you because you're full of all kinds of bubbly energy.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
do you find you're in this place of or have you ever been put in the space of knowing that you can get 8 hours of work done in 3 hours and then have other people go, oh, look at all that time you have left. Let me take it from you and get you to work on these other things. Have you ever had that where bosses have said, oh, look at all this time you have left over. Let me fill it up for you.
When I work, actually, before, when I work with someone,
Yeah.
I find there's sometimes, we have a tea, doing this, doing that. Actually, yeah, actually, within the 8 hour, probably we can do a lot more. But
Well, you
I
could,
left the
but
work. Yeah, yeah. But I think at the time, yeah, at the time I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware, and apparently my kindness was abused for sure. Because at the time I couldn't identify the intention from different people. I got abused, and because I'm people pleasing, I wanted to make others happy. So, but yeah, I used to
yeah,
have to say that. But
yeah,
now because I recognize it, no one can really do
yeah.
it anymore, right? Because I got to respect my own boundary.
And you get to
Yeah.
let go of trading time for money because you know that you're able to get things done in a much more productive, less time, and therefore you're more valuable. That's the way I would see it anyways. So it's very cool. Yeah.
Mm.
You're bringing up to mind an idea that sometimes we get in these states of doing many, many different things during the day that can feel like it's all pulling at us. And one day I remember thinking I was very overwhelmed and the motivation just fell flat for me. And I remembered how much I enjoyed high school and junior high school and hopping from one subject to another every hour. And I enjoyed that. And I went, oh, I'm going to stop feeling drained by this constant change and choose to feel motivated by it, energized by it, and even looking forward to it. So even
Mm.
things that we think don't motivate us could actually, depends on how we look at it. It's all perspective. So really
So
cool.
true.
Any
Yeah.
last